ਹੁਣ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਟਰੈਪ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਧਿਰ ਦੇ ਨੇਤਾ ਮੈਥਿਊ ਗਾਏ ਨੇ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡੈਨੀਅਲ ਐਂਡਰਿਊ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੇ ਆਸਟ੍ਰੇਲੀਆ ਭਰ 'ਚੋਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਸੈਂਕੜਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਦੇ ਮਰੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦਾ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰ ਠਹਿਰਾਇਆ ਹੈ। ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਮੈਥਿਊ ਗਾਏ ਨੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਤੇ ਤੰਜ ਕੱਸਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਛੋਟੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਪਾਰ ਦੇ ਠੱਪ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਗਲਤੀ ਹੈ।
ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਪੈਂਡੈਮਿਕ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਵੱਧਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ ਪਈ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਇਹ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਕਦੀ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਟੇਟਸ ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣੀ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਇਹ ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਉਹ ਕਦੀ ਵਾਪਸ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਲਾਈਫ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਪਾਏਗਾ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨ ਨੇ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਉੱਠ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਵਾਕਈ ਸਾਡੀ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਚੰਗੀ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਓਪੋਜ਼ਿਟ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਮੈਥਿਊ ਗਾਏ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਥੋੜੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਪੁੱਛਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਸਵਾਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਸਮਾਲ ਬਿਜ਼ਨੈਸਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਥੋੜਾ ਆਨਸਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਸਕੇ। ਸੋ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਮੈਥਿਊ।
Thank you.
So Matthew, firstly, in this situation where we know that whole world is suffering, but then most of the countries and most of the states, especially in Australia, if we see, they're back to normal. And Victoria is still suffering. So what are your views here, especially about the government? Do you think is government doing right things, what they needed to do?
Well, Victoria and indeed all of Australia had done very well at slowing and coming close to almost eliminating coronavirus from Australia. That's obviously because Australia is an island, and as an island you can secure your borders fairly easily. What we had in the state of Victoria was overseas returnees, Australians who'd come back from overseas who were placed in quarantine. That quarantine system, which was run by the state government here in Victoria, was not effective. It was not done properly. As a consequence, Melbourne is now the home to a second wave of the coronavirus that is now sadly taking the life of 20 or 30 people a day, and we're seeing 400 to 700 new infections every day. This contrasts with the rest of Australia where there's fewer than 20 infections each day, and in some states there are no infections each day. So Victoria is the standout problem in Australia when it comes to a second wave. I know those numbers probably don't mean much and they're not very high compared to other parts of the world, particularly, say, India, where the population is much, much larger. But of course, here in Australia, where we are an island and we have the ability to lock our borders in a way that countries with a land border, like India or Europe or the United States, that they don't, you'd expect that Australia would be able to perform better. The fact that we are not is concerning.
Now you have mentioned that Victoria has not done the job during quarantine properly. And people are dying every day, where all other countries, they're coming back to normal, especially if we are talking about states, they're coming back to normal. So do you think that this government is actually responsible for all those deaths which are happening every day? And the numbers are going up. Today as well, there is 21 deaths happened in last 24 hours. So whom you think is responsible for that?
The second wave of coronavirus in Melbourne, in Victoria, is solely due to the failure of government policy. And that is now pretty obvious to all of us in Victoria.
Yeah.
The government's policies in terms of managing those returnees, where some of the guards shed cigarettes or took some of these people in quarantine to clothing stores. I mean, this is outrageous. No wonder there's been a spread in the community of coronavirus when some of these people who were infected then went and spread it to guards, who then went home for religious festivals, spread it to their family. Those members who had it and didn't know it then spread it amongst whether it was their church, their temple, their mosque. And so that's how the virus has spread through Melbourne. That's why Melbourne is now in a stage 4 lockdown, whereas other parts of Australia have no lockdown at all. In fact, they're coming off restrictions. So that failure of policy is solely due to the Andrews government here in Victoria, and no one can explain otherwise.
Now, people in Victoria, they're looking for answers, and I know Indian government is not giving proper answers. Being an opposite party and as an opposition leader, what do you think that your party is planning to take steps against Andrew, and how they are being as a leader or a spokesperson for the people in Victoria, how they are going to act?
I think the most important point for all of us is that when we have a situation like this, you need to go hard, go early, and that means need to go to a strict lockdown very early, very quickly, like New Zealand has done and has just done again. And that means you can quarantine the cases where they're at and you can deal with them. I don't think anyone disagrees with the fact that we have to have extreme lockdowns here in Victoria because we need to do something about it. We all need to adhere to those requirements. Question, of course, comes why we have to have those lockdowns, and we've just talked about that because of the failure of policy. It's my view that the Defence Forces should be used much more prominently here in Victoria than they have been, particularly in managing hotel quarantine. At the moment, the same groups that were responsible for the first markups just a few weeks ago are still in charge of hotel quarantine. That is outrageous. We need to have very clear and strict lockdowns. They need to last until mid-September, and then we need to adhere to the state, what will then be probably stage 3. Once those restrictions are up, you need to adhere to them. But it's certainly using the Defence Force, which the federal government has offered, should be taken up.
I completely agree. But now, do you think that NGO government is lacking there again?
I certainly think they are lacking the will to engage the federal government. I don't know why they'd be so pig-headed about it. It's not a Labor versus Liberal thing. It's not a party political thing. We need to deal with the health crisis that is here. And the health crisis says that we need to have everyone helping us. And if the Australian Defence Force has been offered by the federal government, we should use them. And not just 10 or 20 of them. We should use the many, many hundreds, indeed thousands, that have been offered by the federal government. And that is to help with hotel quarantine, that is to help with stage 4 restrictions, that is to help in a range of industries around Victoria. Now, they've been offered, we should accept them and accept them graciously to help us through this stage 4 crisis.
So question comes once again, which I've already asked you, that why opposition is not coming up and becoming as a spokesperson for Victorian people, when Victorian people, they are asking for answers. So what opposition is doing at the moment?
Well, I think all of us, as opposition members, are still living like everyone else in this state in a stage 4 restriction. So it's more difficult to get out than it was before. We can't go to shopping centres and talk to people. We can't knock on doors. You can't put things in letterboxes. You can't go and meet people. We are doing everything by Zoom, and that makes things much more difficult. In the media, the opposition leader, Mr. O'Brien, and others are doing their best to get the message out. But most of us are really operating either by social media or by electronic media. That is obviously harder. After the stage 4 is over, you'll see a lot more of us physically out there, but that's just a way of life in Victoria today.
I know it's very hard, and especially for small businesses, because small businesses are suffering. And especially when it was a time of bushfire, small businesses came forward, especially if I'm talking about Indian community. Indian community came forward and they collected lots of funds during bushfire. And now Indian community and business people, especially Indian, which I know very well, they're suffering a lot. So government is only paying, just $10,000 to a business when they are paying more than 25,000, I can say, per month as a rent. So do you think that government is actually giving a help? And now it's been, in a lockdown again. So how your government or an opposition is thinking that once this pandemic will over, how you are planning to help small businesses which have either they're closed or nearly closing down their businesses?
Well, this is a real problem because the second lockdown, it's not just about having a second lockdown in Victoria and nowhere else. It's the fact that second lockdown, as you said, is going to devastate small businesses. Victoria's Indian community, whatever religion they are, they're all very heavily involved in small business, either sole trader or small business operations. The Indian community in Victoria is very good at that. They're very good at running small and medium-sized businesses. They work very hard. So they're going to suffer particularly hard from a second lockdown. The state government in the middle of this crisis has handed the Premier and his ministers pay rises of up to $42,000 a year in the middle of a pandemic. I mean,
exactly.
Why is any worker who's not a frontline worker receiving a pay rise? It is crazy. That support should be going towards small business. We would make sure, and we've got a back to work, back in business plan, and that plan is about supporting Australian small business and indeed Victorian manufacturing. Let's not rely on any one country, whether it's China, America, England, whatever. Let's diversify our economy. There's so many more economies we can look to than just You know, a third of our state's business is with one country, with China. In the 1970s, we had the same problem. A third of our business was with the United Kingdom. And then they left to join the European Common Market. So when you expose your economy to one country to that amount, you're going to lead yourself to a great collapse like we're doing now. There are so many more markets we could look at, whether it's South America, Brazil and Argentina, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. I mean, these are big economies and they are big population bases. We should be diversifying our economy. That's what we want to do.
Exactly. But why we didn't do that before? Because even though in economy, from day one, we learned that do not put your, all the eggs in one basket. Yeah. But why government only thought to do business with China only, which India government is still, I think, doing the same. And now when we are talking about pay rise, when small businesses, they are suffering, when people do not even have food to eat, India government is thinking to have a pay rise. And they did the same thing during the bushfire as well.
Yeah, well, you're quite right. I mean, it is quite outrageous. During bushfires, the Indian community were hugely prominent, and a number of Sikh temples in particular from the suburbs went out to a number of bushfire areas with a huge amount of food parcels. They've worked very hard. They've been the embodiment of what everything is to be Australian, to perform and to do so well on behalf of all of us. Now, as small business and sole traders, they're suffering the most. And government's response to that is to give themselves a pay rise. It's unbelievable. This is the time we need to support small business and sole traders, not government businesses, small businesses. And, that's why when we come out of this crisis, and we will, we do need to have a plan to bring manufacturing back to Victoria, bring these industries back to Victoria. And I've no doubt that there are enterprising people in the Indian community, which we all know there are, that can fill that void that we need for manufacturing in the state. I really hope they do. We've got a whole thousands of enterprising people who've got the brains to do that and the brain power here. And our plan is to put a lot of money, nearly $1 billion, in to do that.
Oh, great. So I hope this pandemic will over ASAP, and then we want all the Victorians to go back to normal, and especially small businesses, as I said, are suffering. And if I'm not wrong, Andrew government is stopping the funds which they are offering, especially to sole traders, I think. And then sole traders are suffering the most. Yeah, we need that to be over, and we need a proper leader who can actually work for these people who are actually suffering, and they want to put food for their family, and they want to work hard. So I can only say, yeah.
I think what we all need at this point in time is leadership that tells the truth.
Yes.
In the middle of a pandemic, we just want to be told the truth. If it's good or bad, we just need to hear it. And what everyone around the world wants from their political leaders is just tell us how bad it is, how good it is, what we need to do. We'll adhere to the rules, but just tell us what we need to do. What we're getting in Victoria is a lot of lies and covering up in order to save people's political skin rather than to just tell the truth. And that is not how you confront a crisis. You just deal with it, tell people the truth, and then we will accept what we have to do. But that's no way to conduct yourself in the middle of a pandemic, is to cover up and to lie. It's to actually tell the truth, and then you get the confidence of your people.
Cool. That's a very, very, I can only say very thank you, Mr. Matthew, for your opinion, as obviously opposite government will have their own opinions and ND government will have their own opinions. So we will see about ND government will say and how they will control this pandemic and how they can win their Victorian people's heart back. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.